My name is Anita. I'm 35 years old. I live in Ohio with my parents, my mother Gloria, 48, my father Samuel, 50, and my younger brother Caleb, who's 19. From the outside, we look like a hardworking immigrant family trying to make ends meet in America. But behind closed doors, it was a battlefield. You see, I was the one everyone leaned on. Even though I worked two jobs, a grocery store cashier by day and a restaurant waitress by night, I was still expected to carry the weight of the household. I did the laundry for 4 people. I did the dishes, scrubbed bathrooms, vacuumed, and fed 3 dogs I was drowning. But I pushed on. Why? Because I thought maybe, just maybe, one day my parents would be proud of me. But instead, every day I came home from my exhausting shifts, my father would look me dead in the eye and say, "You're useless." Completely useless. What he didn't know was that my body was already fighting me. I had chronic inflammation in my feet. Every step felt like I was walking on broken glass. There were nights I collapsed on the floor, silently crying, too scared to make a sound because if they heard me, they'd just get angrier. My father especially. He hated weakness. He hated doctors. And whenever I made a medical appointment, he would scream at me, "You don't need doctors, Anita. You need discipline. Stop being dramatic." But the truth, I wasn't being dramatic. I was being crushed. One night after working a double shift, I limped into the kitchen and collapsed into a chair for just 5 minutes. Just 5. My father stormed in, slammed his fist on the table, and roared, "What are you doing sitting down? You don't deserve to rest. You're useless, just like I always say." That word, useless, it sliced deeper than any blade. I wanted to scream, to fight back, but instead I stayed quiet. I stayed quiet because in that moment I made a decision. If he thought I was useless, then I would show him just how dangerous a useless person could become. By day, I kept working my 2 jobs. By night, while my parents slept, I turned my pain into fuel. I started teaching myself IT skills online, coding, cybersecurity, and digital systems. I borrowed old laptops from coworkers, worked on free software, and studied through blurry eyes until sunrise. For months, nobody knew. To my parents, I was still the lazy, useless daughter who didn't do enough. But in secret, I was becoming something far greater than they ever imagined. One night, while sitting on the cold bathroom floor with my laptop, I got an email that changed everything. I had been accepted into a remote IT internship with a major company in New York. It didn't pay much at first, but it was a door, a real door. I didn't tell my parents, not yet. I just kept pushing, building my skills, until one day. That internship turned into a full-time remote position, and the salary, let's just say it was more money than my father had ever made in his entire life. Fast forward 1 year. My father's company downsized. He lost his job. Suddenly, the man who called me useless couldn't even pay his own bills. Guess who he turned to? The daughter he once humiliated. I'll never forget the night he came to me. His voice wasn't loud anymore. It wasn't angry. It was desperate. "Anita, I need your help, just for a while, until I get back on my feet. The same man who once told me I was worthless now needed me to survive." I had a choice. I could forgive him, or I could take the revenge that had been boiling inside me for years. I decided to do both, in my own way. I started paying the bills. I made sure my mother and brother had what they needed. But when it came to my father, I gave him conditions. No more yelling, no more insults, and most of all, respect. He had no choice but to obey, because the truth was undeniable. The useless daughter had become the head of the household, the provider, the powerful one. But here's where the story takes a darker turn. Months later, I received an opportunity to move abroad, a six-figure IT job in Canada. I didn't tell my family until the night before I left. At dinner, I stood up, looked directly at my father, and said, "You called me useless. But tomorrow, I'm leaving for a life you could never give me. And this time, you can't stop me." The next morning, I walked out of that house with nothing but my laptop and my passport. I left my father in his silence, and to this day, he calls me, begging me to return. But I never answer, because sometimes the greatest revenge is living a life so powerful, so successful, that the people who tried to break you are forced to choke on their own regret.